Hello, everybody. I've just returned from my daily walk and deeply contemplating AI in this day and age. So I thought I'd do a little video. Let's chat about AI with AI because we're living through a very strange and fascinating transition. AI is no longer coming; it's here. Right? It's here. There's no avoiding it. And for many of us, myself included, are using tools like ChatGPT to create graphics, write content, shape ideas and communications online in ways that once required entire creative teams. And there is brilliance in that, accessibility, efficiency, innovation, and creativity expanding at an incredible rate. There's been a time where, for me, the graphics and doing all the social media work over the years that's what it's taken. It's taken a lot of work and a team, and now it's just at a touch of a finger, right? So, although it's exciting, it's also creating confusion, discernment, grief, um, and because something is shifting in the texture of social media, we are entering a space where almost everyone can now present polished ideas, polished branding, beautiful graphics, profound sounding captions, cinematic visuals, highly professional marketing. The external appearance, the external appearance of wisdom, success, depth, spirituality, creativity, or authority can now be generated within seconds. And that's what we're seeing. But perhaps this is where the deeper question begins. When everyone can look professional, what becomes the true measure of depth? When beauty can be artificially generated, what remains undeniably real? When language becomes refined through AI, how do we discern embodied wisdom from curated intelligence? Maybe this evolution is forcing humanity into a more refined level of discernment because authenticity was never truly in graphics. So, and this is what actually, as I said, is been coming up, this discernment that's coming up for me. Because every day is getting more and more. All social media, every day, Instagram, Facebook, everything's like it's the same. And so where are we going to where are we going to tell the difference? Where is this going to be this line of difference when everyone's it's all the same? And we're identifying ourselves through, we're identifying ourselves, those who are doing the graphic work and people looking at the graphic work, like, this is a mirroring. Yeah, but there seems to be like something, there seems to be this sense of something that's missing that got me to to jump on here. So it's never really been about the graphics, the fonts, the aesthetics, the branding, the presentation. What cannot be replicated is presence, lived experience, integrity, embodied energetic coherence, the subtle feeling behind someone's words, the resonance of someone who has actually walked through what they speak about. AI may eventually blur the lines between what is human made and what is machine assisted so completely that we may not know the difference visually anymore. But perhaps that is precisely what will invite us to feel more deeply rather than simply consuming more visually. The future may belong less to those who appear to be most polished and more to those who remain most real. And maybe that is the invitation within within all of us, within this. Not to resist evolution, but also not to lose ourselves in it or inside of it, to use AA consciously, creatively, and responsibly without abandoning the soul beneath the presentation. Because eventually everyone may have access to the same tools, and that's what we're seeing. But again, not everyone will carry the same depth of presence behind what they create. And perhaps this is the next evolution of consciousness within the digital age. So for years, social media rewarded appearance, the perfect image, the perfect quote, the perfect aesthetic, the perfect identity. Many people unconsciously learnt to curate themselves into something consumable, something marketable, something visually convincing. Now AI has accelerated that process so much. What once took hours now takes minutes. What once required skill now simply requires prompting. What once distinguished professionals from beginners is becoming universally accessible. And strangely, this may not diminish authenticity, it may expose it. Because when everyone can create beauty and professionalism and spiritual quotes and cinematic branding and emotional, intelligent captions, the deeper question becomes this: who actually lives what they speak? Who embodies the words beyond the algorithms? Who remains authentic when the camera is off? Who has depth beyond presentation? Who has sat in silence without needing to perform wisdom online? AI can generate language that sounds conscious. It can imitate depth. It can mimic emotional intelligence. It can even create the appearance of awakening. But there is still something deeply human that cannot be manufactured so easily. And again, that's genuine presence. People can feel something when soul is behind it. Not perfection, soul. And maybe this is where social media itself is heading, into a strange paradox where the more artificially everything becomes externally, the more valuable sincerity, honesty, vulnerability, and embodiment become internally. Again, not as performance, just as presence. Because technology can amplify expression, but it cannot replace consciousness. It can assist communication, but it cannot become the living essence behind it. So the real question may no longer be, was this made by AI? But rather, is there a real human presence behind what is being shared? And maybe that is why so many people feel excitement and discomfort at the same time. That was my thinking. This is exciting. It's a little uncomfortable at the same time because I can see this mirroring and this mimicking that is actually occurring now that everyone's on ChatGPT. And before too long, it's like a drop out of the ocean. It's just going to just drop and everything's going to just all look the same. And we're not going to know the difference between one drop to the other. And we're not going to know, like, what is really the human presence and the authenticity behind it all. So AI is confronting humanity with this mirror, a mirror that reveals how much of social media was already performance long before artificial intelligence arrived. AI did not create the illusion, it amplified it. It exposed how deeply our culture has already become attached to presentation, validation, image, and perception. Now the tools have simply become so powerful that almost anyone can construct an identity, a brand, a philosophy, a movement, or aesthetic that appears refined and convincing. And perhaps this is where a kind of spiritual maturity is being asked of us, to move beyond being hypnotized by appearances alone. Because there was a time when professionalism implied mastery, when polished branding implied experience, when eloquent language implied wisdom. But now eloquence can be generated, beauty can be generated, professionalism can be generated, even emotional depth can be simulated. So humanity is entering into a new era of discernment where the nervous system may begin sensing truth more deeply than the eyes do. Not does this look good, but does it feel real? And that changes everything. Maybe in the future, people will become less impressed by perfection and more drawn toward transparency, less captivated by flawless presentation and more nourished by honesty, groundedness, and humanity. Because the more artificial the world becomes, the more sacred authenticity becomes. And perhaps that is the hidden gift within this transition. AI may remove the illusion that external polish equals inner depth. It may force us to rediscover the value of direct experience, embodied wisdom, real conversation, lived truth, and genuine human connection. In a strange way, the rise of artificial intelligence may push humanity back toward what is most real, not away from consciousness, but deeper into it. Because eventually the novelty of perfect graphics and AI generated brilliance may fade. And when it does, what will remain is the same thing that has always mattered beneath every era, every technology, and every platform: the frequency of the human heart behind the message. Maybe the deepest question beneath all of this is not whether AI is good or bad. Maybe the real question is what part of the human experience can never be automated, because information can now be generated endlessly. Art can be generated endlessly. Voices, faces, music, writing, branding, philosophies, teachings, entire personalities, all increasingly replicable. Humanity is approaching a threshold where external creation may become infinite. And yet, inner realization still cannot be downloaded. No, AI cannot suffer for you. AI cannot surrender for you. So AI cannot awaken for you. No AI can sit in the rawness of grief, of love, of heartbreak, of silence, of birth and death, uncertainty, or transformation as a living conscious being. It can describe those experiences beautifully, but description is not embodiment. And perhaps this is where humanity may begin rediscovering the difference between information and wisdom. Wisdom is everywhere now. Information is everywhere now. Information is everywhere now. But wisdom is rare. Information can be assembled. Wisdom is lived. Information can sound profound. Wisdom changes the way a person walks through life. So, Greg Braden writes in his book, Pure Human, humanity is standing at a crossroad where technology is advancing faster than our relationship with our own consciousness. He speaks about preserving the qualities that make us deeply human: empathy, intuition, emotional intelligence, presence, creativity, genuine connection in an increasingly AI-driven world. So his message, his central message, is not to fear technology, but to remember that our humanity itself is sacred and irreplaceable. So his quote is, "Do we love ourselves enough to preserve the gift of our humanness? Do we love ourselves enough to preserve the divinity, the gift of divinity within the humanness?" And maybe this is why some people feel resistance to AI, even while appreciating its brilliance, because somewhere deep inside there is an intuitive knowing that humanity must be careful not to confuse technology and refinement of technology with consciousness itself. So the danger is not AI, the danger is disconnection. Disconnection from the body, disconnection from stillness, disconnection from intuition, disconnection from human relationships, disconnection from nature, disconnection from silence, disconnection from unedited reality of being alive. Because if everything becomes curated, enhanced, optimized, and artificially refined, then the imperfect, vulnerable, ordinary human experience may become the very thing that feels revolutionary again. A shaky voice, an honest conversation, a moment without filters, a person admitting they do not know, someone speaking from lived truth, again, instead of perfected language. So these things may become more powerful than polished perfection ever was. And perhaps the future will not belong to those who merely master AI tools, but to those who can integrate them without losing their humanity. To those who remember that technology is a tool, it's not an identity. It's an amplifier, not a soul. It's just a mirror, but not consciousness itself. Because beneath every algorithm, every graphic, every generated image, every perfectly written caption, the eternal question still remains. Who are you? and there is nothing left to perform. Who are you when there's nothing left to perform? That is when you remember the truth. And that truth is what will set you free from all of the seeking, the searching, and the scrolling. And perhaps this is where the conversation becomes deeply personal for all of us, because many people are not only questioning AI, they're questioning themselves within it. Am I creating or am I curating? Am I expressing and sharing or am I performing? Am I using these tools consciously or slowly disappearing into them? There is a strange tension emerging between expansion and erosion. AI expands creativity, speed, reach, and possibility. But if used unconsciously, it can also erode originality, patience, intimacy, contemplation, and the slow, organic process through which human insight once emerged. There was once a time when a piece of art, a written reflection, a poem, a teaching, or even simple graphics carried traces of the human journey behind it. The imperfections were part of the signature. The pauses, the effort, the uncertainty, and the vulnerability, these things held texture, depth, reality, authenticity, truth. And again, now perfection can just arrive instantly. And maybe humanity is about to discover that perfection was never truly what moved us. Maybe what moves us is authenticity and sincerity, the trembling truth inside someone's words, the subtle humanity inside imperfection, the feeling that someone is truly here for you. Because presence has a frequency that cannot be manufactured. And perhaps this is why there's both awe and exhaustion surrounding social media now. So much content, so much beauty, so much stimulation, so much hype, so much brilliance. Yet at times, something can still feel strangely empty beneath it all. And it's not that AI is empty, but because amplification without grounded consciousness can become just noise. And maybe the future of social media will not simply be about who can create the best content, but who can remain internally anchored while surrounded by infinite content. Anchored, grounded. Who can stay connected to stillness in a world addicted to stimulation. Who can stay authentic in a world optimized for performance. Who can stay human while technology accelerates beyond anything previous generations could imagine. Because ultimately, AI may force humanity into a profound evolutionary choice. Will we use technology to deepen consciousness, or will we use it to avoid ourselves more efficiently? That may become one of the most defining spiritual questions of this era. And perhaps the answer is not rejection, not fear, not blind attachment either, but conscious relationship. To allow AI to support creativity by replacing contemplation, to allow technology to assist expression without replacing embodiment, to use innovation while still remembering the ancient intelligence of silence, presence, intuition, and direct human connection. Because the soul does not need better graphics to be real. It only needs honesty. So, in conclusion, the danger isn't AI. The danger is disconnection. Disconnection from the body, from community, from stillness, from intuition, silence, human connection. And maybe this is why spaces of real human connection matter more than ever before. So, those of you who know me, I have a retreat centre in central New South Wales, between Newcastle and the Central Coast, the Inanna Retreat Centre. And like we're here and we're not trying to escape technology or reject evolution. We understand that AI, social media, digital creativity are becoming part of the new world. But alongside that evolution, we also believe in returning to what is deeply, deeply human. To presence, to embodiment, to nervous system regulation, to authentic conversation, to joy, to playfulness, to breath, to stillness, to face connection, to the soul remembering itself beyond performance. So our retreats and gatherings here are spaces where people can step out of the noise of constant stimulation and return to the direct experience of being fully present with themselves and with others, not curated, real connection, authentic humanity. So perhaps the future will not belong simply to those who master technology, as I said, but to those who can use it without losing the soul within it. And maybe that's our invitation now with all that is occurring to evolve with the world while still remaining deeply, honestly human.